G'day guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Wildkard. Thank you for being here and watching my content. I really do appreciate it. As always, it is my pleasure and the absolute privilege to talk about the greatest sport in the world, rugby. Today, I had the special privilege of witnessing the Fijian Drua making into the top 8 of Super Rugby in the final round, beating the Queensland Reds. You know, I was so blown away by this performance. I did not expect this margin, and I thought the Reds was the favourites going into the game, considering they kind of resorted back to what had worked for them in the past, putting James O'Connor at 10, Kanta Baisami at 12, basically fielded the strongest possible team that the Reds could have had mustered for this match. And considering that the Reds had been able to pull up an upset against the competition leaders, the unbeaten at the time, still unbeaten actually, the Chiefs in New Zealand, I thought, going into Suva, the Reds could still walk out of this game comfortably with a win. Yeah. But yeah, the Endurers really came into this game. The speed of improvement that the Endurers have gone through in the last month is absolutely, unbelievable. Like, there's so much improvement by the team. All the things that the team struggled with have significantly improved. And in fact, in some areas, the Endurers started to dominate those areas that used to be their weaknesses. And it's scary to see because this Enduro team, the second half performance by the Endurers was a championship team performance. It was not just, like one of those Enduro games where they come back 3 tries because the opposition fell asleep. No, this was a comprehensive demolition of the Reds in the second half. So, yeah, from the kicking game, the Endurers something that don't really do very much. We know the Endurers used to be just like, okay, let's just run the ball. The kicking game was significantly, noticeably better than the Reds, more accurate, more pressured than the Reds, and it was able to put the Endurers in a very good position to, playing in the right zone essentially. Instead of running the full length of the field, the Endurers was able to position themselves inside the opposition half and just camped there essentially. Another huge improvement by the Endurers was a set piece, the scrum. The Endurers actually got scrum tight head wins against the Reds. Could you believe this? The Reds is one of the strongest 4-packs in Super Rugby in Australia anyway. And the Endurers was able to get scrum penalties from the Reds. I was blown away considering just about a month ago, the Endurers was getting dominated by the Blues in the scrummaging. And I was amazed how much the front rows have improved over the last, 3 or 4 weeks. And then also the lineouts. The Enduro lineouts was just so silky smooth. Long gone the days. In fact, not that long. Not that long ago, the Endurers was too afraid to even throw the line out, right? If there's an option, they would not take the line out. They would do anything but to go to the line out because just keeping the ball straight was a big issue for the Endurers. But these lineouts tonight we saw was unbelievable. It went exactly where the lineout needs to go. You need, whether it's far ball, short ball, from, whatever you wanted to do, the lineout went exactly pinpoint accurate for the entire duration of the game. The Endurers was able to spoil the Reds lineout again and again and again, putting pressure on the Reds lineout, forcing errors, overthrows, converting those opportunities into tries for themselves. Just unbelievable performance by the Endurers. Also, the more by the Endurers was much better as well. More defense, more attack, and then the running game as always. Working those short spaces in the edges of the in the edges of the field. Nice handling as well. This was wet conditions. Endurers in the second half, the ball handling was absolutely spectacular. It just didn't look like there was any sort of liquid to affect them at all. Didn't look like the rain affected them at all. And then the structure in the Endurance defense is unbelievable. The Reds could not break through the Endurance defense at all in the second half. And again and again and again, the Endurance were able to hold out the Reds, diffuse the attack, and very, very low missed tackle count, world-class performance, and also very, very low penalty count, world-class performance. This is unbelievable. This is literally the best performance in the second half for the Endurers in the club's history. That was unbelievable. That was a world-class level of performance for any rugby team. It was just insane. So let's go through some stats and look at this. Honduras won this game 6 tries to 2 over the Reds, 462 run meters to the Reds, 192. The halftime score was 17-all. The rain had a big effect on the game. Both teams were struggling to string any pieces together. It was a lot of drop balls in the first half. Second half, the Honduras came out, looked like an international test team. Like, honestly, they handled the ball perfectly. They attacked the way they wanted to attack. They kicked the ball exactly that needed to be kicked, made the right decisions, and just absolutely mauled the Reds down. This was, yeah, like, you wouldn't believe this was the same team that came out on the field in the second half. It was unbelievable. 13 turnovers conceded for the Honduras, 15 against the Reds. Tackles, like I said, a 100 tackle made for the Honduras, 16 missed tackles. The Reds, 140 tackles made, 28 missed tackles, quite low there. Kicks in play, the Honduras 17 kicks to the Reds 6. Very rarely do you see that Honduras out-kick. In fact, I can't even remember a time where the Honduras have out-kicked an opposition. This time, the Honduras managed it again quite well due to the wet conditions as well. Like, they played really smart rugby, keep the kicking game inside the opposition 22, and yeah, made the Reds pay for their mistakes for not handling the ball in the wet. And and that was, the strategy clearly was just executed. They clearly had a plan, and it was executed perfectly. It was really, really just amazing to see. Lineouts 12 for the Honduras, 8 for the Reds. Again, the lineout loss. This stats is actually incorrect. The Reds has lost a number of lineouts due to the pressure from the Honduras. 1 scrum loss for the Reds. Like, I would never think this was possible. Honduras actually had a tight head scrum win, turning the ball over in one of the scrums. The Reds scrum just absolutely folded. I could not believe that. It was unbelievable. And finally, the discipline. This is probably the most important and one of the most impressive things that the Honduras has been able to do for a long time now. 6 penalties conceded. Again, extremely low. This is something that an international test team will be envious of. 6 penalties conceded. Okay, a test rugby team will be happy to be getting under 10, right? And Reds, 11 penalties conceded. Like, that's not even like that bad. Like, 11 penalties conceded, not even that bad. They did get 1 yellow card for repeated penalties, and Fraser McRoy cynically not rolling away on the ground. So that was the 1 yellow card against the Reds. But yeah, this was comprehensive for the Honduras. So let's go through some of the key moments of the game. So yeah, like right away, the Honduras was putting some nice kicking game in the field. Realizing that the wet conditions was something that you wanted to play on the right. The kicking game was really important. So put a kick down behind. James O'Connor trying to do a counter kick, gets charged down from inside his own 22. And then Ravu Taumata. Let me try it again. Ravu Taumanda charges down the ball, gets to the first try on the ball for the Honduras, 7 points to 0. And then the game the Reds kind of like, pull themselves together, realizing, hey, they're in a real match here. Pull themselves together. Was a few penalties given away, a couple penalties given away by the Honduras, allowing the Reds get inside the Honduras 22. The Reds goes for a maul. The Honduras actually did really well to stifle the maul. The maul didn't go get the try right away, but the Reds pick and go, quick balls, pick and go. Eventually, maybe the red conditions had a bit of help as well. Smith barges himself through for a try, and the Reds levels the score 7 points to 7, 8 minutes into the game. 17 minutes into the game, the Honduras was able to get themselves in a position inside with the penalty, inside the Reds 22. Like, so rare. Like throwing the ball all the way to the far person in the wet condition. It's always a difficult task, but the Honduras did it, went for it, and they did it perfectly again and again and again and again this game. So they went for the long ball, they set up for a rolling maul, and then when the maul was set as well, it wasn't just like, randomly set. They had set the maul, right? And then they they had the, the organization to shift the maul towards the goal post. So the maul kind of rolled toward the goal post. It was a bit short when the maul was stopped. No matter, pick and go. And Ravuvu, a pick and go, draws in more defenders. The ball eventually comes out. Quick hands, long pass out wide to Ravuvu. Goes into the corner for the second try for the Honduras. 12 points to 7. 23 minutes into the game, the Reds get themselves back into another position for a penalty. They kick the ball out for a maul. the ball, one of the hooker gets the ball, kind of takes the dart. He was short, and then Fraser McRae picks up the ball immediately, jumps over the try line. Really, really too quick, too fast for Honduras to react to that. Suddenly, the Reds is back, 14 points to 12 in front. There was a lot of slippery balls after this second try was scored. Both teams were guilty of dropping the ball a little bit, but eventually the Reds was able to get themselves inside the Fijian half. And James O'Connor was just like fumbles the ball right in front of him. Luckily, he had a penalty advantage, so the referee, so the Reds opted for taking down the 3 points. The scoreboard ticks up for the Reds' favor, 17 points to 12, around 27 minutes into the game. 27 minutes into the game. So 30 minutes into the game, this was a huge point in the history, I guess, of Fijian Drua. They get a scrum penalty turnover against the Queensland Reds. Yeah, one of the best scrums in Australia, like I already mentioned. This was massive. So the Honduras gets the penalty, didn't even opt to take the goal. They kick the ball. So they didn't even go for the goal. They go for So they go for the penalty. They attack, and then Marcy had the vision over the top to see the space behind the Reds. Again, just perfect kicking game, perfect decision making. A little kick over the top. McDermott tries to, hilariously catch this ball. Was completely out of position. He realizes that the ball bounces. Suliasi Vinivalu was there to get the ball, but he was just didn't even look like he had didn't even look like he was trying, to be honest. And then it was Mira with a determined mind grabbed this ball in front of Vinivalu, goes in for the third try in the first half for the Honduras. Suddenly the scoreboard is level at 17 points apiece going into halftime. So second half starts, the Honduras come out, just clearly look like they're a different team. Like, it's just the handling, the kicking game was more controlled. They will have to run the ball when opportunity is given. They have to test out the opposition defense. There was all the drop balls has just like evaporated. 10 minutes into the second half, the Reds had a what happened here? So putting pressure in the Reds. Reds had a line out inside their own 22. The line out was stolen by the Honduras, and then the Honduras was building phases, and the Reds gets caught offside, and then Honduras goes, okay, we're gonna take the first 3 points. 3 minutes into the second half, actually, Honduras gets their first 3 points, first penalty goal, 20 points to 17. 5 minutes into the second half, 45 minutes, the Honduras were just happy to run the ball, finding space out wide on the wing, leaking up, despite the wet conditions, no problem. It looked like they were looking really good. But yeah, there was one of the, I think it was Rovovo, who almost had set up a try for the Honduras, but he stepped on the line just before he threw the ball in. But it doesn't matter. The Honduras had a penalty advantage anyway. They kicked the ball off for a 5-meter line out. And the Honduras sets up the maul. The Reds defend the well. And then the Honduras put more pressure on. McRae makes a tackle of the ball carrier. And he just like seals off the ball illegally, gets himself a yellow card and sent off. With the play in the beam, Honduras now have a huge ascendancy over the Reds. 48 minutes right after this yellow card was issued, instead of going for the scrum like they had, first of all, they went for the scrum, and it was really good because with the play in the bin, the Honduras already had a scrum dominance. They went for the scrum, immediate penalty, and then they built a few phases. Nothing happened. They went back for the scrum. Went back for the penalty again from the scrum. By the second time, the Honduras didn't go for the scrum. They take a quick tap. I thought this was a mistake. They should have just gone for the scrum again. And sure enough, the Honduras, whilst went really quickly with the ball, got themselves over the try line, but they were held up from this attempt. And the Reds had a goal line dropout, and it was looking like they're going to defuse the issue. But no, the Honduras just kept on pushing. 52 minutes into the game, just more penalties against the Reds. from the relentless pressure that the Endurance has been putting on them. The Endurance kicked the ball out for a 5-meter line out. The maul was stopped, and then the hooker breaks out, and then got really close to the try line once again, and then just pick and go, and then Duke picks up, goes over for try. Let me just try to get his name up. What's his name? Yeah, Masake Doge. Masake Doge. Correct me if you correct me in the comments. Picks up the ball. The big man goes over for the fourth try for the Endurers. Suddenly the scoreboard is opened up to 27 points to 17. 59 minutes into the game, the Endurers had another opportunity to score. They basically was, again, just good handling, good running. It looked like the Endurers scored again. Referee goes back for an obstruction. Now this was I thought this was an obstruction. Yeah, was this one the obstruction one? Yeah, so, no. So there was another try that was denied to a forward pass. Everyone was celebrating. So yes, so first up, 59 minutes, there was a try that was denied because, there was a try because one of the players was out of bounds. So there was a 5-meter line out for the Reds. The Reds throws the line out, and it was overthrown. Yeah, and then the Endurers, Ikani Vere scoops up catches the overthrow, just runs straight through for a try. So a try was denied, and then immediately the Reds makes a mistake at their own line out due to pressure, and then Endurers gets a try on the ball, 34 points to 17. 67 minutes into the game, the Endurers had again more momentum, a lot of really quick breakdown speed, and then one of the ball was thrown out, like the Lomani was throwing the ball. I think it was, who was it? I think it was Ravovo. The ball kind of like, because I think Lomani gets pushed from the rock, so his throw was a little bit off. So the Ravovo jumps up, and the ball just went through his hands, right? So he did touch his hands, went through, but I think one of the wingers from the Endurers scooped up the ball and actually just ran through a huge gap and scores, right? The TMO had a look at this, said this was the guy that the ball just slips through Ravovo's hands. Ravovo landed, bumped into a Reds player. The TMO said that was an obstruction. First of all, he touched the ball. If you touch the ball, he's technically like the one who passed it, I guess. So I don't I don't think that was an obstruction, but the TMO said this was an obstruction. And in fact, even if he didn't touch the ball, I didn't think it was an obstruction because he was just running his line, and then the Reds player kind of like bumped into him. It's just, this happens all the time in a game, but the referee said that was obstruction. I didn't think that was the case. The ball goes over. So yeah, anyway, the Endurers gets another, the Reds gets off the hook again, and then the Reds finally built a bit of a momentum, finally got themselves inside the Fijian half. They got a penalty. They kicked the ball out for a line out inside the Fijian 22, and then they throw the line out. The Reds obstruction blocks their own. The lifter blocks their own. The jumper when it lands, it blocks the jumper from being basically blocks the jumper as he brings them down. Obstruction. This is like high school level of errors. I don't know how you could be doing this in a professional game. And then immediately that opportunity is stifled. And then 72 minutes into the game, Liner was just, was on the field for James O'Connor. He threw a little short pass to Harry Wilson, who copped a huge hit, and the ball pops loose, and Tamani scoops it up, runs 6 meters, and closes out the game for the Endurers, 41 points to 17. And and that's the game. Let me know your thoughts, guys. I thought this was just comprehensive. This was huge improvement for the Endurers, and I think they're gonna be playing. They will be playing against the Crusaders. I think on the weekend. It should be the Crusaders on the weekend in Christchurch. This will be difficult on the weekend, but the Endurers have been the Crusaders early in the rounds. This time will be in New Zealand. But yeah, with the performance that they showed in the second half, the huge improvement in the set piece, I think I think Drua has a real chance next week of upsetting the Crusaders. It's not out of the question, especially if Crusaders thinks that it's gonna be an easy win. Could be a special one next week. So yeah, thanks for watching this video, guys. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys a bit later for more reviews and next week for the news. Thanks for watching. Cheers.